E aí pessoal, tudo bem? Aqui quem fala é o Hugo. Vamos continuar então com a saga do Lord of the Rings, War in the North, Guerra no Norte. Essa situação aqui cabulosa de chuva, raios e trovões.
Oh, joy! Another one of these creatures! Beware of the stones! Strike as one!
If I read the signs right, no one in Kalaran fought a battle here as well. And look here, the broken shards of a ranger's sword. I know this blade. It belonged to Kalaran.
This is proof your comrades were here. But where are they now?
The tracks show where two bodies were dragged to the entrance of that large barrow.
Were they living or dead?
That I cannot say.
The only way to discover their fate is by following them into the burrow.
This tomb makes my blood run chill.
This is no place for living men. Let's find my friends.
Let's hope we're not too late. is upon you!
It would be fitting if we were to drive the white from this tomb. You face the power of the Eldar!
Essa aí pegou de jeito.
this kind before.
We strike as one!
Caramba! Nunca vi um baú com tanta moeda. Vamos variar um pouquinho. Fazer um anão defensor, anão do escudo. Só esse escudinho tá meio pequeno.
think he's alive? Come on then, Lewin. Time to awaken. Wake up!
No strength can prevail against this sickness. What good are swords in the face of this plague? What in the name of... Eridan?
Yes, it's me, my friend.
I have been dreaming.
What was all that about a plague?
I don't know. It was as if I was someone else. I remember a plague and despair.
The Great Plague. Nearly 300 years ago, it devastated the Dunedain of this region. You were sharing the dreams of those for whom this tomb was made.
Well, let those dreams remain with the dead. I want no more of them.
How did you end up in this darksome hole?
I recall we were making good speed through the downs, eager to return to our friends. But a fog began to rise and it became hard to find our way. We began to hear voices calling to us, as if from far off, or else underground. And then, the dead were all around us. We fought them, but then I felt the presence of something else, something stronger, more evil. I saw a shadowy figure seize hold of Kalaran and he fell senseless. Then it came for me. That is all I remember. But if I was brought living into this tomb, then the same would be true for Kalaran. We need to find him.
That's what we intend to do. Are you strong enough to join us?
Yes, I think I can keep up with you.
This is no place for talk. Let's move.
O bom é que pelo menos de escudo segura as flechas dos inimigos, mas tinha que ter como comprar uma habilidade para defender flecha com arma corpo a corpo. Nem que tivesse que botar uma em cada classe ali, uma passiva.
It's Kalaran!
What's happened to him?
Rangers, hear me! The Borrow White controls him! Defend yourselves! We must strike him down!
He's a friend. I cannot.
The man you knew is dead. This is but a cruel trick. Defend yourselves!
We strike as one! Need more time?
Death take you all! You cannot endure this light!
Let us stand and fight together! I'm sorry about what happened to your comrade, Lewin. Are you going to be all right?
First Black Riders, now Barrow-wites. This is more than men should have to contend with. But where there is life, there is hope. Thanks for your concern, but I will be all right. I owe it to those who have fallen to go on as best I may.
We've gathered some rich treasures from this tomb. You certainly deserve a share.
Thanks, but it would only serve to remind me of all of this. You keep what you have won.
You've been through a lot. Maybe you should come with us to Rivendell. Or we can take you to Bree. It's not far away.
No, I feel my strength returning. I'll soon be myself again. And then I will bear Kalaran's body away from these tainted tombs. He should be buried with the rest of his brothers who fell at Sarn Ford.
That's a noble mission. I hope he can rest in peace now. Farewell.
Master Elrond, allow me to present to you Farin of Erebor, a very valiant dwarf.
Indeed. It is an honor to welcome one so brave to my home, and your companions as well.
I am grateful for what you did at Fornost. If Agandaur's forces had joined in the hunt, there is little chance that I and my charges would have made it here to safety.
I'll admit I'm surprised a dwarf can find so warm a welcome in the hall of an elf lord.
Conflicts there have been between our folk in the past, but you are one of the trusty folk of Durin's line. More often than not, your people and mine have been allies and friends.
I'm glad to see you made it here in one piece, Aragorn. But I still have no idea why your mission was so urgent.
I think it is time we told our newfound friends what they have gotten themselves into.
Gandalf! I should have known you would be involved with this somehow.
Indeed. Wherever there is trouble and strife, and the enemy is stirring, there you will find Gandalf the Grey.
Are you going to explain all that has happened, Gandalf? I'm eager to learn why the enemy sent the Nazgul into the Shire.
You have more than earned such an explanation. Tell me, what do you know of Isildur's Bane?
I know nothing of this. What is Isildur's Bane?
Isildur's Bane is the Ring of Power, forged by the Dark Lord Sauron long ago.
Into this ring, Sauron bound the greater part of his power, but it has been lost for many hundreds of years.
Why did Sauron make the ring?
It was part of a grand deception. Sauron taught the elves the art of making rings of power, but secretly he planned to make one master ring through which he could control all the lesser rings and those who wore them.
Learning at the hands of the Dark Lord sounds pretty foolish to me. Why would your folk ever do such a thing?
At that time, Sauron was still able to assume what form he wished. He came to the elves in a fair guise, and played on their greatest desire, to preserve and protect what they loved in Middle-earth.
Eager for knowledge, they learned from him and made many rings. The greatest of these were Narya, Nenya, and Vilya, the 3 rings of the elves. When Sauron forged the one ring, the elves were instantly aware of his betrayal.
The Dark Lord made war on the elves and seized the lesser rings. These he gave freely to dwarves and men, those same men who became the Nazgul. To Sauron's dismay, the dwarves proved less easy to dominate. By force he took back 3 of these dwarven rings. The rest were consumed by dragons and destroyed.
The elves were very hard-pressed, and Sauron's dominion spread over the greater part of Middle-earth.
What saved the elves from final defeat?
The coming of my ancestors. The Dunedain, led by Elendil the Tall, a lord of Lost Numenor, came to Middle-earth seeking new lands in which to dwell. They were the sworn enemies of Sauron and staunch allies of the Elven King, Gil-galad.
An alliance was formed between elves and men, and together they drove back the armies of Sauron.
In the end, Gil-galad and Elendil threw down Sauron, at the cost of their own lives.
What happened to the ring after Sauron's defeat?
It was claimed by Isildur, Elendil's heir. It was he who cut the ring from the Dark Lord's hand with a hilt shard of his father's sword Narcil, broken in the battle.
I counseled him in vain to cast the ring into the fires of Mount Doom, near at hand, but he would not heed me.
You did? But wasn't the War of the Last Alliance a long age ago?
So it was indeed, but my memory stretches back even to the elder days. In the War of the Last Alliance I served Gil-galad, and I witnessed the overthrow of Sauron, and Isildur's claiming of the ring firsthand.
So the ring was not destroyed, and now it has turned up again.
Quite right. After lying lost and nearly forgotten for centuries, Sauron's ring has once again been found.
Do you mean to say the halfling Aragorn rescued has come into possession of the Dark Lord's ring?
Aye, that would explain those accursed Black Riders. But what is to become of the ring now?
There is no safe resting place for the ring, not even here in Imladris. It is a danger to all who come near to it. There is only one course left to us. The ring must be destroyed.
To do so, the ring will need to be cast into the same fires from which it was forged. Those of Mount Doom, in the land of Mordor. The hobbit, Frodo Baggins, has agreed to take it there.
Surely you don't intend to send him there alone?
No, certainly not. A fellowship will be formed. A fellowship of 9. 9 walkers set against Sauron's 9 Black Riders. Among this fellowship will be representatives of all the free peoples of the world. Elves, dwarves, and men. Aragorn and I will both be going.
We've proven we can handle a fight. Let us join this fellowship of yours.
The hope of the Company of the Ring lies in speed and secrecy, not in strength of arms. Their number must be few. Even were we to send 1,000 such warriors on this journey, it would do little more than arouse the wrath of the Dark Lord.
We are at your command. What is it you would have us do?
The Nazgul and Agandaur are dire threats. We must learn all we can of their movements before the Fellowship is to depart. Scouts will be sent out in every direction to scour the lands around Rivendell. Your aid in this would be of great service to our cause.
Very well. Where should we start?
Agandaur is our chief concern. Although the Nazgul are powerful foes, their mission here in the north is abundantly clear. We can only guess what Agandaur may be planning, or where he went after he escaped from you.
I suspect he may be planning to move against us here. Sauron's hatred of the elves is very great, and he does not forget the hand we played in his defeat during the War of the Last Alliance.
If it is strength he wants, he may well find it among the Etimors.
You know that region better than I. What can you tell me of the Etimors?
The Etimors are a spur of the Misty Mountains, lying almost directly north of Rivendell. It is a wild region of very rugged terrain, home to many trolls and giants.
I myself was in the Etimors but days ago. I saw no sign of Agandaur's presence, but neither did I encounter trolls. That fact alone is troubling. It could be that they are gathering in force, somewhere among the moors.
If that's so, we don't want them taking us by surprise. We'll make our way to the Etimors and see what we can find out.
From what I have heard of you, from Aragorn and Elrond's sons, I expected no less. Still, you have had a long road and hard fighting to get this far. Take what time you need to rest and recover before you set out. The Etimors are a dangerous place for the unprepared.
The hospitality of my house is yours, for as long as you wish. Greetings to you, Farin. Many times in the past have I welcomed your kin to my home. The bond between our kindred has at times been shaken, yet it has never been broken. Always before, I have placed my trust in Durin's folk, and never have they betrayed it. You will always be welcome here in Imladris, my friend. Yet I am certain you did not come here merely to exchange pleasantries. That is not the dwarven way. Do you have questions for me?
Não adianta, né? Tanto o anão quanto o elfo, sempre que tem a oportunidade, eles dão uma alfinetada um no outro.
I found this scroll at Fornost. I think maybe you should take a look at it.
A wise decision. This is writ in the black speech of Mordor, a language I will not utter here. It is intended to instruct the reader in the use of dark sorceries.
What is the Black Speech?
A language devised by Sauron when he desired a single tongue to be spoken by all who serve him. He had small luck introducing it to the scattered tribes of orcs and trolls, but it is still used by his highest-ranking servants.
We faced orcs at Fornost who used spells against us.
Then it seems this has already been put to use. That is grim news. The Dark Lord is a master of necromancy and other foul sorceries. He has taught these abominations to men in the past, but never, to my knowledge, to orcs.
I don't like the sound of that word, necromancy. What is it?
Necromancy is the darkest form of sorcery. It deals with raising the dead.
The Dark Lord has this power?
He does indeed. It was for this reason he was known as the Necromancer when he still dwelt in the fortress of Dol Guldur in Mirkwood. At that time we did not know this was Sauron returned, but we knew there was a great evil there. Have you not experienced this power firsthand in your journey through the Borrow Downs? It was Sauron's chief servant, the Witch King, who summoned the Borrow Wights to infest those tombs.
I was told that many of the men buried in those tombs were the Dunedain. How is it that Sauron can make them forget their past loyalties?
These shades are not truly the dead returned to life. Not even Sauron has that power. It is accomplished through the summoning of malignant spirits to inhabit the remains of the dead. It is a mockery of life, and the foulest form of desecration.
Good thing we captured this, then. What will you do with it?
I will destroy this scroll, at the very least. But wait, here I discover more. Listen to what is written herein. Scribed by the hand of Agandaur, disciple of the great Lord Sauron, for the empowerment of his servant Wulfrun and those others of his faithful who prove worthy. I will speak no more of these blasphemies, but it does say that this scroll is one of 7 such works.
Who is this Wulfrun the scroll speaks of?
I know not, but whoever he may be, he is certain to be deep in the sway of the Dark Lord, and very likely a powerful sorcerer in his own right. We must be watchful for any sign of his presence in the days ahead.
So there are 6 more of these accursed things. Maybe we can find them all.
That would be a great service to our cause. Should you recover them all, bring them to me, and I will ensure they are destroyed.
You can count on that.
In the meantime, please accept this in appreciation for bringing this matter to my attention. Perhaps it will be of service to you in your travels.
One more thing. I found this book hidden away in the ruins of Fornost. It looks to be quite old.
Ah, now this is writing of an altogether more wholesome sort. This was not made by any minion of Sauron, but rather by the men of Arthadine, likely before the fall of Fornost.
Tell me about this realm of Arthadine.
Arthadine was the last fragment of the great northern kingdom of Arnor. The heirs of Isildur ruled as kings of Arthadine, until it too was destroyed by the enemy.
But according to the Rangers at the Sarn Ford, the line of their kings did not end.
It is true Isildur's line has remained unbroken. But without a kingdom to rule, they have not claimed the title of king, and have been known simply as chieftains of the Dunedain. It is our friend Aragorn who currently bears that title, although he will be the last to do so. Either he will become a king, or Isildur's line will come to an end with him.
So you think this book is a record from those days? You could be right, for we found it in a chamber that had been long sealed. Can you make out any of the writing?
Indeed. It seems to be a personal journal. And here is a name inscribed, M-A-L. Why, this appears to be a work of Malbec, the Seer of Arthadine.
Malbec? Never heard of him.
Many of the Dunedain race are gifted with foresight, but none more than Malbec. He predicted the final destruction of the kingdom of Arthadine, which befell exactly as he had foretold. I will examine this work carefully. Who knows what other visions are here recorded? It may be that we will find something of value to us in this time of trouble. You did well in bringing this to me. Take this in way of thanks.
Happy to have been of service. Thanks and goodbye.
Ah, Farin, I am glad you are here. I feel I must apologize to you. When I was told a dwarf had appeared on the borders of the Shire asking to join the Dunedain in their watch, I was suspicious. I instructed Halbarad to keep a careful eye upon you, fearing you were a spy. Clearly he grew to trust you, and after all you have done, I have as well. I am sorry to have doubted you, my friend.
Oh, there's no need to apologize. After seeing firsthand what you Rangers have to contend with, I think you're right to be suspicious.
Perhaps. But we should also remember there are others in the world who are willing to serve. I am glad you chose to do so.
I'd like to know more about those chosen to be part of your fellowship.
Who is it that interests you?
At least you will have a dwarf along with you, and one of the best too. You won't find a better companion than Gimli, son of Glóin.
I have only just met Gimli, but I hope he will prove to be much like you, stout-hearted and reliable, and a terror to his enemies in battle.
What about this man of Gondor, this Boromir?
Boromir is the son of Denethor, the steward of Gondor. I had never met him before Elrond's council, but long years ago, under another name, I served his grandfather Ecthelion. The men of Gondor are valiant and strong, and by all accounts Boromir is foremost among them in courage and skill at arms. I suspect we will have need of his sword before our quest is through.
Tell me about the wood elf, Legolas.
It is fitting that we have a representative of the Eldar, the Elves, along with us on this venture. They have been foes of Sauron since before the ancestors of the Dunedain first returned to the shores of Middle-earth. Legolas is keen of eye and ear, and he is unmatched as a bowman. His arrows seldom miss their mark.
What about these other hobbits? Is it wise to send so many of the little folk on this quest?
We are asking much of Frodo. Until recently, he had never set foot outside the confines of the Shire. It will be a comfort for him to have the familiar companionship of his friends and kin, in the face of so much that will be new and frightening. I have traveled with these hobbits, and they proved far more courageous and hardy than many would suspect.
What about Gandalf? What can you tell me of him?
To know all there is to know of Gandalf would require a lifetime study. There is much about him that remains a mystery, even to me. Yet he is a relentless foe of Sauron, and without his vigilance, the ring would already be in the hands of the enemy. His wisdom and leadership will be of great value to the Fellowship.
So, you go now to claim the throne of Gondor?
Above all, I go to help Frodo fulfill his quest. For unless the ring is destroyed, Gondor will soon fall, king or no king.
I take it you'd never heard of Agandaur before we spoke of him.
I had never heard nor dealt with Agandaur specifically, but I know his kind. Years ago, I served in disguise in the armies of Gondor, where I contended with the corsairs of Umbar, who were often led by those akin to Agandaur. These black Númenóreans are a corrupt and wicked race. They worship Sauron as a god and seek the utter destruction of all who oppose him.
Word is you've traveled a great deal. Is there anything you can tell me of the Etimors?
Only that it is a dangerous and unforgiving place. My own grandfather Arthadine was slain by trolls in the Etimors. It is important we learn if the enemy is active in the moors, but we do not send you there lightly. Be on your guard at all times while you venture there.
Good luck to you.
Essa parte aqui de Valfenda tem bastante conversa, né? Bastante mesmo.
Ah, Farin. It is good of you to seek me out. You are a stout dwarf, like all of Durin's folk, and your courageous deeds have shown your worth.
We had one of the great eagles lend us a hand, Claw, at Fornost. Right handy he was too. I was thinking he might help us get rid of the ring.
I don't fault you for thinking along those lines. Why not beg a ride from an eagle, fly far out to the west, and drop the ring into the deepest part of the sea? Such ideas were debated at Elrond's council. But there are many things in the deep waters, and seas and lands may change. We cannot think of our time alone. We must destroy this thing forever.
A hobbit wouldn't be a burden to an eagle. Send him straight to Mount Doom and problem solved.
Indeed. So simple as that. You think so mighty a creature as one of the great eagles could simply waft into Mordor and escape the eye that never sleeps? No. Not all the eagles of the Misty Mountains could stand against Sauron and the full power of his ringwraiths. It would be folly. Nor, for that matter, do the great eagles take orders from us.
Yes, sorry. I was just thinking about poor Frodo is all, and wishing there were some way he could be spared a trip into the very heart of the enemy's Black Realm.
You have a good heart, and I wish it could be so. We debated many such notions. I had even given thought to dragons. There was a time when dragon fire could destroy a ring of power. But even if the mightiest of the dragons of old, and Calagon the Black, were alive today, his fire would not be enough to consume the One Ring, Sauron's ring. No, there is no other way. Frodo must go to Mount Doom, and you have a foe of your own you must contend with, Agandaur, and there is no telling what allies and powers he is gathering.
Esse dragão que o Gandalf mencionou, o Ancalagon, se vocês derem uma pesquisada aí no Google, as imagens, é bem legal. Bah, a criatura era gigantesca, era, sei lá, tamanho de uma montanha, até mais. Quando ele chegava fazia uma sombra assim, absurda. Assim como a aranha do Senhor do Escuro, que era antes do Sauron. Como é que... O Morgoth, se não me engano. Ele... Nossa, a aranha era gigantesca também.
I came all the way from the Lonely Mountain to help guard the Shire. Should I abandon what I set out to do?
You fulfilled your oath and protected the Shire when you were needed there, my good dwarf. Now you're needed more urgently elsewhere. With the flight of the ring in this direction, the enemy is looking this way and has forgotten the Shire for now. For now. But eventually his eye will turn once again toward the Shire, as humble as it is. Hobbits as miserable slaves would please him far more than hobbits happy and free. And there is such a thing as malice and revenge. Sauron will leave the final devastation of the Shire to his servant Agandaur. And that is yet another reason why you must find him and put an end to his designs. In opposing Agandaur, you are defending the Shire.
What's Agandaur after? There are no mighty kingdoms to be found on this side of the Misty Mountains. What's Sauron afraid of here?
Sauron seeks dominion over all of Middle-earth. His desire is to order all things as he sees fit. Even were these lands empty from here to the sea, still he would seek to control them. There is power in Rivendell that could stand against him when all others fall, for a time. And this is something Sauron cannot allow.
I've things that need doing. Goodbye, Gandalf.
Even in strange surroundings, you can trust a dwarf to find his way to a forge. You are welcome in my smithy, Foreign of Erebor.
How is it that an elf of Rivendell knows my name?
News travels swiftly in this household. I suspect everyone in Imladris has heard of your exploits by now. But such adventures are often hard on one's weapons and armor. Perhaps you have need of my services?
Seems like you're preparing for something. Can you tell me what you have planned?
My fellow smiths and I are preparing for a great work. Soon we will be called upon to reforge the legendary sword Narcil. In the meantime, I've been sharpening my skills by practicing the art of imbuing gemstones.
What can you tell me of this sword, Narcil?
Narcil was the sword of Elendil, a mighty lord of the Dunedain who defied the Dark Lord in the War of the Lost Alliance. He bore the sword in battle against Sauron, but he was slain and the sword was broken. Since that time, the shards of the sword have been an heirloom of the House of Elendil. It was to remain broken until the day when an heir of Elendil would go to war to reclaim the crown and title of king. That day will come soon, and the sword must be made whole once again.
What do you mean by imbuing?
Simply that certain objects have inherent virtues, and a skilled artisan can, through his craft, increase those virtues and bind them to an object for advantage. Gemstones are very strong vessels for this process. Sadly, appropriate gemstones have become difficult to find. The growing trouble throughout the land keeps travelers away, and our own people are staying closer to home.
Maybe I can lend a hand with that. I'll be traveling soon.
I would be pleased to have your help. I will provide you with a list of the types of gemstones that are of the greatest value to me. If you collect the stones, I am certain I could create something that you would find useful. But to be of use, the gemstones must be of the highest quality. Fortunately, we have as a guest a dwarf of the Lonely Mountain. Glóin is his name, and he is skilled in the appraisal of gems of all sorts. Once you have gathered the stones, allow him to examine them. He'll know if they are suitable.
I should be going. You don't look like any elf of Rivendell. I'd wager you are one of the wood elves of Mirkwood.
You are correct. I am Legolas, son of Thranduil, king of the Woodland Realm. And I believe you are a dwarf of the Lonely Mountain.
I've been through Mirkwood. It baffles me that you wood elves chose to live in such a place.
Mirkwood is the greatest woodland in all of Middle-earth. It was called Greenwood the Great, before the shadow of Sauron fell over it. In ages past, it was a place of great beauty. But now, it is filled with darkness and dread, save only in the north where my father's realm is maintained.
What brought you on such a long and perilous journey?
Unpleasant business. My father sent me to report the escape of Gollum, a creature Aragorn had entrusted to our care.
What can you tell me about this Gollum?
A pathetic creature who long held the Ring of Power. The evil of the ring has left him twisted and tormented. His only thought is to recover what was taken from him.
How did Gollum manage to escape? I understood you wood elves were pretty good at holding prisoners. But this one got away?
Not from a lack of watchfulness, but perhaps from too much kindness. We occasionally allowed Gollum to go about the wood under close guard. But on one of these ventures, the guards were attacked by orcs from Dol Guldur. In the confusion, Gollum escaped. We followed his tracks southward for many leagues, until it drew near to Dol Guldur. There, it became too dangerous to pursue him any further.
Dol Guldur. A name of dread to my folk. What do you know of it?
A stronghold of the enemy in the south of Mirkwood. It was once the dwelling of the Dark Lord, until he was driven out in the year of the Dragon's Fall. But it has once again become a place of great evil. All the darkness that besets Mirkwood has its source in Dol Guldur.
So, will you be on your way back to Mirkwood soon?
No. I have been chosen to represent Elvenkind among the Company of the Ring. I will be accompanying the halfling, Frodo Baggins, on his journey south.
It seems a little strange that, with a house full of his own people to consider, Elrond chose you, a wood elf, to represent the elven folk in the Fellowship.
I asked for the privilege, and Elrond did not refuse me. I feel he may have been relieved not to lose any of his household to this quest. He will have need of all his strength, should the enemy move against Imladris.
Why'd you volunteer?
Partially to make amends for the loss of Gollum. but more so, because this will be the final chapter in our long struggle against the darkness. And I wish to have a hand in our final victory. Or at least, to stand in the forefront of our last act of defiance.
Good luck to you, Legolas. Ah!
Magovanen, well met and welcome to the safe haven of Imladris.
My thanks. I'm much honored to meet you, Lady Arwen.
Durin's folk are welcome here. You have endured great danger and given us urgent warning of a new threat to the north. For this, we honor you, Farin.
Well, it was nothing, lady. It's nice of you fair folk to welcome a dwarf.
You show the modesty worthy of a hero. Estelle and my brothers have spoken highly of your courage at Fornost, and I thank you for your part in seeing to my brother's safe return. Please, take your ease and rest a while in our halls. You will find all your heart could desire, whether it be food, drink, song, or storytelling.
Estelle? Who might this person be?
Your pardon, good dwarf. It is my way to call Aragorn by the name he was given as he grew up in Imladris. Estelle means hope.
He has a long list of names, to be sure. How'd he come by that one?
It is common practice to foster the children of chieftains of the Dunedain in Imladris. Aragorn was but 2 years of age when his mother, Gilrain, brought him here after his father was slain by an orc arrow, Isildur. Elrond became like a father to him. Knowing the enemy sought ever for a living heir of Isildur, he renamed the boy Estelle to keep his true name and lineage hidden. Aragorn was 20 before Elrond revealed these things to him and gave him tokens of his heritage. But he remains Estelle to me, for he is my heart's hope, even as he is the hope of the Dunedain.
If you pardon my saying so, you speak his name with an uncommon fondness. Do I guess right?
Long ago, I pledged myself to him beneath the golden boughs of Lothlorien, saying to him, "Dark is the shadow, and yet my heart rejoices, for you, Estelle, shall be among the great, whose valor will destroy it." Yet there is much pain in this choice, for I am Elrond's daughter and half-elven. To cleave to Estelle, I must forsake my immortal life and become mortal, accepting the bitter with the sweet. Even should Imladris endure this war, Elrond will leave Middle-earth, and we will be parted beyond the end of the world. It is the price I must pay to bring love and hope to Estelle, to Aragorn.
I'd happily sit for a long spell in Rivendell, but Elrond set my friends and me a task to scout the Etimors. We'd best be on our way soon.
Then I will not keep you, but we may be of service to one another. I am helping my father brew a potion known as Miraval. One sip of Miraval can renew heart and soul, and bring new vigor to weary limbs. I am in short supply of certain rare ingredients that may be found in the Etimors. If I gave you a list of the ingredients, perhaps you could bring any you find while carrying out your mission. With enough ingredients, I will return the favor by brewing an extra flask that you may have for your own use.
That's a generous offer, Lady Arwen. I'll keep an eye out for what you need and bring it back once I finish scouting around.
Hello! Always happy to meet a dwarf. And one from the Lonely Mountain, if I'm not mistaken.
I am Farin of Erebor, and we've met before, Bilbo Baggins.
Have we now? Oh, I'm afraid I don't recall. You'll have to forgive me. I've grown somewhat forgetful lately.
We met upon your last visit to Erebor. I guess that was near 20 years ago now. And before that, I had the honor of sharing the field with you at the Battle of Five Armies. That was my first real taste of battle. I was hardly more than a lad at the time, but it was a glorious day.
Oh, yes, the Battle of the Five Armies. A nasty business, that. Personally, I'm glad those days are behind us. But then again, it seems as if they may not be. Everything seems to be pointing to some dark times ahead. Speaking of which, I'm told that you and your friends did a great deal to help my Frodo and the Dunedain reach Rivendell safely. You'll have to tell me all about it one of these days so I can write it down properly.
It's an honor to speak with you, sir. Your name is revered by my folk for your heroic deeds.
Oh, all greatly exaggerated, I assure you. Well, of course, there was the incident with facing the dragon Smaug, and I did save Thorin Oakenshield and his companions from the spiders of Mirkwood, as well as rescuing them from captivity in the Elven King's halls. Oh, yes, yes, those were great days.
It is certain we would not have recovered the Lonely Mountain without your help. This is why, when I heard that your homeland might be in danger, I chose to come west to help in guarding it.
Most of my kin have no idea of the sacrifices others have made for their safety. But those of us who do are grateful. More grateful than I can say. I've written all about it, so perhaps they will learn about it someday soon.
Can you tell me how Frodo came to hold the Ring of Power?
Well, yes, that was through me, I'm afraid. I found the ring by happenstance while lost beneath the roots of the Misty Mountains. I won it. That is to say, I took it from the creature Gollum. Of course, I did not know the full story of the ring until only a few days ago. I thought it was merely a magical bauble with the power to make the wearer invisible. I only used it to avoid unwelcome visitors. Imagine that old ring of mine causing such a fuss. I would gladly take charge of it again if that would help. Oh, yes. Gladly. Yes. You know, I think it would be best if we discussed something else.
Now you call Rivendell your home.
Well, the Shire will always be my home, I suppose. But this is the perfect place for so many things that I'm more than content to remain here. My days are mostly filled with my writing now.
What is it you write?
Oh, a little of this and a little of that. History, my past adventures, family trees. I've even begun a book of translations from the Elvish. Although lately I've been working on poetry mostly. Say, maybe you could help me with that. I'm writing a poem for Aragorn and I'm a bit stuck on a line or two.
Are you now? Well then, let me hear what you have.
Very well, very well. The verse that's giving me trouble runs like this. Ahem. The light from the west is rekindled. Forth from Imladris it springs. Renewed is the hope that has dwindled.
The light from the west is rekindled. Forth from Imladris it springs. Renewed is the hope that has dwindled. The scion of Westernest kings.
Why, yes. Yes, that's just the thing, isn't it? Oh, my friend, you should consider exchanging those weapons of yours for the poet's pen.
You know, one day I wouldn't mind trying my hand at poetry, but I'm afraid that time is a long way off.
Oh, I'm afraid you're right, but since these old hands are not much use with a sword, I'll just keep on with the pen. Though I'll need some help. Perhaps you could show this to the Lady Arwen. She has her people's gift with words, and this touches her deeply after all.
I'll take it to her.
Ah, thanks very much. Be sure to give her my compliments, won't you?
I'll be sure to do that. Farewell, Bilbo.
Well met, Farin. It is good of you to visit me again. My thoughts stray often to Estelle and my brothers, but also to you and your companions. I continue to brew Miraval, but I am concerned about our dwindling stocks. We still have need of those ingredients I spoke of before.
It's been many years since I first met Bilbo the Renowned, and it's an honor to meet him again. There's no one quite like him, don't you think?
I had once thought Bilbo unique, but now that I have met Frodo, I say that elves know less of hobbits than we think. They have a strength within that is far greater than their stature. How many of us, thinking ourselves strong, could have borne the ring as long as Bilbo did, without being turned to evil? It sustained him, so that he is now very old amongst his kind, but it did not stain him, nor has it lessened his love of poetry and song. Dear old Bilbo, I believe there is nothing he loves more, except a good meal. In that, he remains a true hobbit.
Bilbo asked for help with a poem. I'm fond enough of the dwarvish sort of poetry, but this elvish verse is beyond me. He asked for your help, saying the subject is a matter very close to your heart.
Then it must be about Estelle. He is fond of writing verses in honor of his good friend, and therefore often comes to me for advice. You may leave it with me, Farin. I will give it some thought and answer him myself.
Thank you, that's a relief. It's not for a dwarf to be writing lines about the kings of men. And anyway, I have little time to spare for poetry. By your leave, lady, I should be going. Farewell.
Welcome, Dwarf of the Lonely Mountain. Welcome to Imladris. Are you in need of anything to help you in your travels? I have many things in my keeping that might serve you well.
Farin, my lad, by my beard, it's good to see you again. When you left Erebor to stand guard on the Shire, Gimli and I feared we might be seeing the last of you. Now I hear you stood with the Rangers in the battle against the Nazgul at Sarn Ford, and bested an orc chieftain at Fornost. Good work!
I can't take all the credit. I had Andriel, an elf of Rivendell, and the ranger, Eradan, at my back.
Reminds me of the old days when dwarves, elves, and men fought together in the Battle of the Five Armies.
Then I've your blessing being allied with an elf?
I will speak plainly. I may be less than fond of King Thranduil's wood elves for keeping me in their dungeons, but I've no grudge with any of Elrond's folk.
So I've heard you say many times, but the elves fought beside us when it mattered most.
You're right, of course. I can be a stiff-necked old dwarf, but it's time to set aside grievances that were long ago repaid. When dwarves, men, and elves fought together at Erebor, we overcame legions of foes. But we face a far more terrible enemy in the Dark Lord. Standing together against Agandaur may be more than just a good idea. It may be our only hope to save the North.
Let's not leave out the Eagles. They've been a big help to us.
Well spoken. Thorin's quest and the Battle of Five Armies would have met disaster without the help of the Eagles. You're fortunate to have gained the friendship of such noble creatures. Your life may well depend upon your choice of friends, whatever kindred they be.
And besides, it wouldn't hurt to keep Sauron a little distracted. If we keep him second-guessing his plans for the conquest of the North, it could only help Frodo in the long run.
That's my thoughts upon the matter, too. Be the stinging fly in the ointment, as it were. Only this fly's sting will be deadly. And it's time to be about your business. Goodbye, and good luck to you.
Gimli, son of Glóin! This is a happy meeting. But what brings you to Rivendell? What has passed for good or ill since I left the mountain?
Aye, and it's good to see you again, kinsman. I've heard of your exploits at Sarnford and Fornost. They sing your praises here. After you left to aid in the protection of the Shire, the foul messenger from Mordor returned yet again with more threats. King Dain thought it best to seek advice from Elrond. He chose Glóin to speak for him. When my father set out, I refused to be left behind, as happened with Thorin's quest. You were there at the Battle of the Five Armies, while I was left to cool my heels at the hearthside. Well, not this time. I go with the hobbit Frodo and his chosen 9, even if one of them must be a wood elf.
The Battle of Five Armies was long and terrible, and many valiant lives were lost. Glory's of little use to the dead.
You say it as one who has won a share of glory and lived to tell of it, and doubtless will do so again. Don't begrudge me this chance to show the worth of a dwarf against hopeless odds. But in truth, it's not for glory I take this road. It's for the sake of all who lie under the shadow of the enemy. It's Frodo who bears the true burden.
We killed an orc chieftain and drove Agandaur from his stronghold. What worries you about the North?
Before we left, we heard that Mordor was stirring up the Easterlings. But should they be foolish enough to move against King Brand of Dale, they'll find King Dain of Erebor standing fast at his side. But every step of the way here, we heard rumor of new gatherings of orcs and goblins and worse things. And though the fearful count every enemy twice, there may be some truth to it. You found such enemies at Fornost. When Sauron strikes, there will be more than one land that feels his wrath. I fear for the Shire and Rivendell, but my heart would rest more easily if I knew you kept watch over them. If Faron of the Lonely Mountain defends the North, then no enemy can prevail.
You don't ask much, but my friends and I will do what we can. If you can bear the honor of the dwarves on your quest, I can do no less here. You have my word on it.
Hello, you are Faron, aren't you? I was hoping I would get a chance to speak with you.
Hi, and you must be Frodo Baggins. Aragorn and Gandalf have told me all about you, and the burden you bear.
Likewise, they have told me all about you. I wanted to thank you and your friends for all you did to keep us safe on our journey to Rivendell.
Will you tell me about your journey here? Sounds as if it were a rough one.
We had trouble almost from the start. The Black Riders were always just behind us, and we nearly met disaster in the Burrow Downs, at Bree, and again at Weathertop.
What happened at this place called Weathertop?
We were attacked by 5 of the Black Riders. I was foolish, and I put on the ring. One of them wounded me before Aragorn managed to drive them away. The knife that was used against me left a shard in the wound. From what Gandalf has told me, the fragment was working its way inward. If it had reached my heart, I would have become a wraith under the power of the Black Riders. Fortunately, we were able to reach Rivendell in time for Elrond's healing arts to save me.
Barbada, me mostra o anel.
You've got hidden strength in you, like all your kind, it seems. I think you will do us all proud. Good luck to you, and all who go with you.
The sun shines and all is fair and peaceful here in Imladris. A far cry from the blood and dust of Fornost, is it not? You and your companions did very well there. Indeed, things might have gone badly for us had you not been there. You have earned some time to recover from the toils of battle and hard travel. And I believe you will find no place better for the restoration of body and spirit than this, our home.
What was it that brought you to Fornost?
We often ride far afield hunting the orcs, wherever we may find them. We came upon signs of a large band of goblins making their way from the orc hold of Mount Gram and followed their trail to Fornost, where we lost no time in attacking them.
I take it you often joined forces with Aragorn?
Yes, we often venture forth in company with the Dunedain, and none more frequently than Aragorn. He was raised here in our household, after all.
How is it that a man was raised here among elves?
It is a tradition for the heirs of Isildur to be fostered in the House of Elrond. We have sheltered all the chieftains of the Dunedain from the time the Northern Kingdom ceased to be down to this present day. Aragorn is the 16th in line from father to son to spend his early years in Imladris. This is one reason why the bond between the elves and the Dunedain is so strong.
Will you tell me more about your family? I know Elrond is your father.
Yes, it was he who established the refuge of Imladris. My brother and I have dwelt here all our lives. Our sister Arwen dwells here as well, although she has spent many years in the company of our grandmother.
And your mother, does she dwell here also?
Our mother has crossed the sea and left Middle-earth. It is a bitter tale to tell. Many years passed. On a journey across the Misty Mountains, our mother was captured by orcs. We searched the mountains without rest until we found her at last. Our father was able to heal her injuries, but the memory of her torment was too terrible for her to bear. At last she chose to depart for the Undying Lands. Perhaps now you understand why our hatred for the orcs is so great.
That's an awful tale to hear. I shouldn't have brought it up.
No, my friend. We have drawn swords together in the same cause. You have earned our trust. We do not wish to keep anything hidden from you. This is the evil that we have pledged our lives to destroy, just as you have.
Farewell, and luck be with you.
Well met, Farin. It is good of you to... I continue to brew Mirav...
If they are anywhere to be found, then you shall have them. Farewell, Lady Arwen. This is rough country, no mistake. But so far, we've seen no sign of trouble.
But the moors stretch on for many leagues. It would be easy to miss something in these rugged crags and valleys.
Let us continue the search, but be wary. More than one ranger has been lost in these wild lands.
O grupo tá tão entrosado que eles já estão se comunicando por telepatia, porque não mexe os lábios. Pessoal, vou encerrar o vídeo por aqui para não ficar tão comprido. Obrigado por ter assistido até agora. Logo mais eu posto mais alguma parte. E se você gostou do conteúdo, te convido a se inscrever no canal. Obrigado, um abraço. Até a próxima.